Welcome everyone, David Holden, naturopath and nutritional biochemist, here with another update. I'm interviewing my good friend Linda Hoggard, who's #1 in stem cell nutrition here in New Zealand. And before we start, I want to say that some of the things we talk about here, we can't make legal claims about curing diseases. We don't do that. As naturopaths, we treat whole people, and we'll mention some of our experience in cases where we've seen real-time results with some of the things we're going to be talking about, this very exciting subject of stem cell nutrition. So Linda, introduce yourself to the audience. Tell us a bit about you and your background.
Yeah, me and my background. Hi everyone. As David said, my name is Linda Hoggard. I've been a qualified naturopath now for 26 years and certainly spent the first half of that extremely busy in clinical life with lots of experience until one day I came across stem cell nutrition, and then I started seeing some remarkable changes in some areas of my own health that I hadn't been able to get traction. I often say by the time I found stem cell nutrition that I had got rid of all the drivers of why my body wasn't really well, and it's a significant list, like it's endometriosis, polycystic ovaries, chronic fatigue, medically diagnosed mercury copper poisoning, so getting rid of all the drivers, but then how do you really get your health and your body back strong and vital?
So you're a doctor's nightmare, basically.
Oh yeah, I gave up on that a long time ago for me, and like you, I found a lot of my answers in understanding biochemistry and really understanding how the body actually works and still fascinated about that, and we live in very exciting times.
We do indeed.
We're learning new things every day and piecing together those puzzles, you know, particularly as to why for some people it's difficult for them to really gain good health and vitality.
Right. Right, great.
Yeah.
So, you know, you've practiced, you've used stem cell nutrition in your clinic a lot longer than I have. I mean, I'll talk about my case in a minute and what I found with the product and why I got interested in it. So can you give us, just pull out a few cases from your mind of patients you've worked with and what results you've seen with it?
Okay, well maybe I could start a little bit about some of the things I first started to see. When I first found the product, I was in my early 30s, and as I said, I got rid of a lot of the drivers, and at that time I'd been doing a lot of extra work around mercury, and I'd had huge improvements with that in my nervous system. But
so mercury toxicity from amalgam fillings and vaccinations?
Yes, I had 18 amalgam fillings removed when I was 24.
Wow.
I grew up in a part of New Zealand that had a preventative dentistry program, and
that gave you railroad tracks in your mouth,
yeah, and also 12 of those fillings had been redone when I was in intermediate school. And of course we know a lot about mercury and mercury detoxification, glutathione, and I have some significant genetic glitches in the ability for my body naturally really to be able to cope with that, and hence why a person with that type of load would go into chronic fatigue, and fortunately not a worse genetic set where you might go into psychosis. Anyway, so in my own life I'd been really working on that, come a long way, but I felt like my body had kind of cleaned out that much at the time that it just wouldn't settle down and heal, and nothing was really working, and I was in this sort of period of time where I felt depleted and tired and nothing was working. And like many times in our lives, particularly as naturopaths, because most people who are naturopaths aren't naturally superhuman. You know, they've often been called into the field because they've got
health problems.
Questions and health problems and looking for answers. So when this product came into my life, I happened to be in a real kind of lull, and I noticed things when I took the product, particularly quite quickly, because the product has some of its own natural anti-inflammatory effects and mood enhancement, and my body's very susceptible to that. I noticed that
right, you're quite
quickly.
sensitive.
I'm extremely sensitive. Yes, exactly. So I knew right from the beginning I'd found something that was doing things for my body that I hadn't experienced before, because it's not that it's the be-all and end-all of supplementation, but the stem cell nutrition is in a field of its own. It
takes it to another level, doesn't it? As a biochemist, I appreciate that, Yeah,
and you're able to mobilise resources with a product that's scientifically researched, you know that it's doing that, and get the stem cell resources moving in the body, and I hadn't had anything else in my life be able to do that before. So it started a real journey. So I knew quite instantly I needed to get access to more product. And at the time, I was also really suffering from a lot of tension in my hands. I'm also a structural kinesiologist, and a lot of very strong work with my body. And like a lot of structural therapists, you know, 12 years into working pretty full on and hard, I was kind of losing the strength of my hands.
Right.
Yeah, and
like many osteopaths and chiropractors do.
And I was taking like really high-end liquid cartilage, really significant doses. It wasn't getting worse.
Glucosamine.
Yeah, it wasn't getting any worse, but it wasn't getting any better. And I was starting to face a clinical practice career without my structural work, which wasn't how I wanted to work. I liked the variety. As I continued to take the product, basically, I found great relief in my own hands, particularly around the 3 or 4 month period, which is common. And then it was interesting, a year later, I felt my hands and wrists and everything sort of go to another level of strength and flexibility as those resources got more into my body.
And that's a key point I wanted to stress, that this is not a one-hit wonder.
Yeah.
You've got to take these products over a period of time.
Yeah.
And the longer you take them, the more marked the effects. That's certainly what I've noticed.
And it's a journey. And so one of the things in my own personal health journey was gut health, and I had done a lot of work with my gut, and but never felt like I could get it to deeply reheal. And about 7 months on taking the products, where they'd always given me a lot of energy, suddenly for a couple of weeks I'd sort of feel tired, I'd feel a lot of activity in my gut, but I came out of that 2-week period with gut function like I had never experienced, and it's never turned around.
Brilliant.
We're here 14 years later, and it took me to another level, and it's stabilised.
For me, the same thing happened when I removed gluten out of my diet. Massive difference, massive improvement, folks. If you haven't tried being gluten-free, you've got gut issues, just do it.
Exactly, and I'd been gluten-free, I'd been wheat-free by the time I started Stem Enhance, let's say 12 years, and I had been gluten-free for 4 or 5 years, and remarkable difference. Got rid of my chronic tendencies towards anemia, etc. But then, I'd done a lot of gut.
So you're finally absorbing in your small intestine for once,
got through the gut rebuilding, repairing with everything we have access to as naturopaths, but I couldn't really get it to the level that it is now. So stem cell nutrition did that for me. And for me, that came in about 7 months down the journey. And at 10 months down the journey, I woke up one day and I had surgery on my right foot for a bunion when I was 12 years old because I was in significant pain. And they were saying, by the time I was 25, I'd need a full joint replacement. So I spent a lot of my structural kinesiology training and that, obsessed with feet work and things. And I'd had a lot of help and my feet had improved. But by my early 30s, now and then, the foot was seizing up, which would then throw out my whole posture. And it was a problem. I was thinking, maybe this is something that I'm going to have an intervention with. So for me, 10 months into taking the product, I wake up one morning and that joint just hurt like anything. And I'm like, this could actually be a good sign. Yep. And it was like that for 3 days. I used a walking stick to get from my house to my clinic, and it was a real aggravation, which sometimes happens. Sometimes, like when my hands were changing, it felt quite light and fluttery energy, but in my feet it was a real exacerbation.
Which is what homeopaths love. I mean, that's what they're looking for, is an aggravation, because it precursors a healing response.
Yes, So, but after 3 days, I woke up one morning, you kind of wiggle your toes and go, oh, that's not sore, actually, that's more flexible than it's ever been. And I got out of bed, and what I'd never been able to do since that surgery is put all my weight on my tippy toes without really bad collapsing type pain. And I could put all my weight on my tippy toes, and here I am 14 years later, I can still put all my weight on my tippy toes. So it's changed the shoes that I can wear. It's the whole trajectory.
That's radical.
I'm really sort of grateful for that. And then I was actually speaking about the product a couple of years later with a natural doctor in Perth, and she was talking about her recovery from a mountain bike accident. I went, I'd totally forgotten that at 19 I chipped my hip, and it had always been sore. I could never lie on this side. It had never settled down. You could always kind of feel the chip, and I'd sort of forgotten about it. So there I was standing 2 or 3 years into taking the product, and I went, my hip. And I went, it's all settled down. Like, you can put all the pressure you want into that hip bone, and there's and essentially, my take on it was that was just, it had never kind of really settled and healed from the injury I had at 19. Because often we're working with people with this product who are older, and it's great for them to hear my story in my early 30s, because I'd had a lot of health issues that my body hadn't totally been able to catch up from, and I was able to give my body the resources to catch up.
Right.
And And also, I guess I'd already started having some injuries that were going to become old war wounds. That also I didn't have enough resources to really heal at the time.
Yeah. And that segues me into an interesting aspect of stem cell nutrition, is that as we age, our stem cells drop significantly. So that most people in their 60s have like 30% of the release of stem cells when they're in their 20s.
Yeah, possibly even less.
Even less. Yeah. And so by stimulating your body to stimulate stem cells to release, you'll bring it back to a younger level, if you like. So the body has got the resources to heal.
Yes.
So if you're taking supplements and you've got a good lifestyle, you'll get the benefit of that more completely, won't you?
Well, definitely, because it's all a bit of an equation, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Health is. It's a complex factor.
Yeah. That's why I say pizza plus pizza just equals a lot of problems eating too much pizza, But if you get up and, eat well during the day, that's a whole lot of issues that your body isn't going to have to be healing, and then it can catch up with the help of these products, with the resources. But it's not also to say that on my travels talking about this product that I don't meet people that have done nothing else, but take enough of this product for long enough and then have significant turnarounds, and their body's functioning, more like when they were 40 than when they were at 60. Right. And that's the body using the resources.
So let's talk about dosage and the product. So the product's not a new product. It's been developed over a period of 15, 20 years, originally from a company called StemTech, now from a company called Cerule.
Correct.
And they've got a scientific team that has processed and refined and concentrated this product, so it's a way lot stronger than the old StemTech product used to be, isn't it? It's better absorbed as well.
Yeah, I guess the product has a patented concentrate in it called Stem Enhance. And so the first product I found 14 years ago, was just the Stem Enhance concentrate. And now we're on to the fourth generation. It still has that Stem Enhance. Fourth generation now. Still has that Stem Enhance concentrate, but the scientists at Desert Lake Technologies, where the algae is harvested and processed and all the research is done on all the interesting compounds they found another compound called mesenchyme, and in their research they understood that what it contributes to a stem cell enhancing product is it improves the signalling that our stem cells use in order to know where they're going in the body. Right. Yeah, so the scientists...
So it enables it to target to areas that need repair.
And I know when I was in America when they first released this product, the scientists sort of talked about this lovely push-pull effect. We were actually getting more stem cells out of migration in the same way with the Stem Enhance, with the addition of the particular scientifically researched Verkoiden from Tasmania, using that and then have...
Which is a seaweed extract.
Yeah, and that combination allows the stem cells to come out at a greater rate for longer. Yes. And then the mesenchyme allows...
So it maintains a higher level.
Yep, and that's part of the improvement on the previous formulas, and the big improvement on the previous formula is the mesenchyme and improving the signalling system so that the stem cells can better track to where they need to go into the body.
So just for those of you who don't understand completely, and I'm sure many of you have heard of stem cells, if not all of you, stem cells are a root cell that can turn into any other cell depending on what's needed for body repair. So stem cells are a generic cell that can turn into liver cells, pancreatic cells, ovarian cells, brain cells, you name it, they can transform depending on the epigenetics, the environment, the stress levels, and the repair that's needed by particular organs in the body. So this is why stem cell nutrition is really taking supplementation to a whole other level, isn't it? And that's why it's exciting as a clinician, because you see results where you didn't see results before.
Exactly. And that's, sometimes I talk to clinicians, and as clinicians we get like our favourite way of dealing with things. And that, but I'll often say to a clinician, how you get someone, or say two people, and they've really got the same scenarios going on, and let's say one's in their 60s and one's about 40, and you've actually got them on a similar type of regime. And of course, the person in their 40s gets better quicker.
Faster.
Yeah. So you don't lose all your other naturopathic knowledge and the things that you're doing, but you add the stem cell nutrition to it, actually at both ages, but particularly that older person.
And probably at a higher dose too.
Yes. And then actually it's like it just harmonises and just really brings that prescription together. And then there's other times when you have people sit in front of you and their back's against the wall. Yeah. They've
got a lot of health issues.
Yeah, or and
they're chronic health issues.
Chronic, and when we're talking about stem cell nutrition and where that can just take your results to another level, it's when that person, like, it's just compounded degeneration, and that might be through the circulation system, through their nervous system, through their skeletal system. And as a naturopath, we might be like feeding their heart full of CoQ10 and the right herbs and
carnitine,
magnesium, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And we can help the existing cells of the heart produce more energy and function better.
Yeah.
But man, the heart's got a huge requirement for stem cells.
Yeah.
And it's turning over at a great rate like every other organ and things. And then suddenly you can take all that great cardiovascular knowledge you have as a naturopath and add
it to another
stem
level.
cell nutrition.
Yeah.
And there's some things that you'll see that you won't never have seen before.
And talking about circulation, let's talk about plasma flow, because that was a relatively newer product. It was developed by Cerule to help stimulate the circulation to where it's needed. Often because of fibrin occlusion in the arteries and the veins of the body.
Correct.
So we talk a bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess it's that knowing about how stem cells work in our body. So our stem cells are in our bone marrow. There are mother cells that are
mainly in the hip bones.
Particularly as we get older, the red bone marrow recedes to the pelvis bones, and the mother stem cells, they're pretty interesting. They keep their own innate genetic information, and they create a direct duplicate of themselves, and those daughter cells go out into the body and are these amazing renewal repair ambulances that this renewal system provides us. So and I just coming back to why the stem cell migration actually drops off, there's an anchoring...
As we age.
As we age, there's an anchoring compound in the bone marrow called L-selectin.
L-selectin,
And it gets stickier as we get older, because the ability...
Like our blood does.
Yes, because the ability for our mother cells to make more daughter cells still works. It just needs the signalling. The signalling still works well. It gets stuck. So that's essentially how science currently understands that the stem cell nutrition product works, is that there is a long chain sugar naturally in the algae that's concentrated in this product, and that allows the stem cells to migrate out at a greater rate. And there's double blind, research backing that up.
There is.
Yes. So that's that aspect. So we get our stem cells into our blood, but then our stem cells need to get into our body at a cellular level. And I often say to people, just come back to the fact that here we are as this amazing human being, but we're 50 trillion cells that are somehow coordinated to get around and live our life. And of those 50 trillion cells, there's 217 different types of cells.
The cultural creatives, as Bruce Lipton calls them.
Yeah. So when we're talking about stem cells becoming new cells, we're talking about it at the individual cellular levels of the body. And so obviously our cells are fed food and oxygen, etc., by our micro blood vessels like capillaries. And no cell is more than 2 cells away from its own
blood supply.
So your microcirculation, it is extremely important that it's open.
It's crucial.
It's crucial. And essentially, as naturopaths, and like for yourself and I that are using HemoView, we're always looking for these signs in the blood of
congestion and
because we're talking about getting the life force, the nutrition, the oxygen all the way through the body.
Getting the mitochondria activated.
Exactly. And people might say, oh great, you guys, your skin glows, you look so healthy. And I go, that's because my circulation's open all the way to my skin. And it's great. But you know what's really important is that my microcirculation's open all the way to the end of my brain, to the end of my extremities, and all the way to the end of my feet. Particularly when you're tall, you can really get microcirculation issues catch up with you. So that, of course, can be an issue. And then when it becomes an issue, what it particularly can affect is the ability for your stem cells to really get to where they need to go. And I see this a lot, particularly with knee issues, where people are going, cool, I'm going to take your product, I'm going to get more stem cells going, I'm going to get them into that knee. And what can be a rate limiting thing is that perhaps that microcirculation in that knee is compromised because there's been so much inflammation, which is the driver of the fibrin. And Cerule has a fantastic product targeted for the microcirculation and the circulation system called Plasma Flow.
And that's got serapeptase and nattokinase in it.
So very distinctive enzymes that we know that break down
Fibrin.
Yeah.
Clusters in your blood circulation stop microcirculation.
Yep, absolutely. And these enzymes work within sort of 45, 50 minutes after ingesting them. So
best
that they
taken on an empty stomach with a glass of water.
The product does work 10% better on an empty stomach. So, and then these enzymes start breaking down the fibrin so that you start clearing the way, not just for your stem cells, but
for all the other nutrients
the life force
taking,
of your body. And then also the ability for the body for the blood vessels that are returning back to the heart and the veins to bring back the carbon dioxide and the byproducts of metabolism.
Yeah.
You know, it's just keeping the whole system supplied and cleaned.
Right.
Yeah.
So microcirculation is one thing. You've got that covered with plasma flow in conjunction with the Stem Enhanced Ultra. What about inflammation?
Inflammation. Well, it's all about inflammation, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And biochemically, we would say that ultimately, as you drill down to every problem, at the basis of it is inflammation.
Yeah.
And I think what's really important is that we established, that inflammation's a communication signal created
by the immune system.
Created by the immune system. And so a certain amount of inflammation is good because it's saying, hey, I've got a problem here, come and fix me up. And it rallies around, if there's an infection, bring me, white blood cells for the infection, etc., or if there's damage. But the problem is, and we see this as we get older, we're not repairing at the same rate. So the areas don't get repaired. So the inflammation really starts to cascade and then creates problem. Because these communication signals, they're actual chemicals and they're in our body. And so when we say fibrin is related to inflammation, it's because those chemical signals hit on the blood clotting compounds that are in our blood waiting to be used, and it ends up flicking out little spicules of it. So essentially, as you start helping your body heal and repair at a deeper level, it's going to be anti-inflammatory because you're starting to actually get changes in the body, so then the signaling can calm down. But the other thing is that the algae naturally has a pigment in it, and the pigment works as a natural anti-inflammatory. And
so that's this product here, Cyanactive, which is derived from blue spirulina.
Yes, because spirulina and the Lake Klamath algae are like cousins, and so they have similar sort of properties. And so commercially, the Cyanactive phycocyanin pigment is taken from spirulina rather than using up the...
So let's talk a bit about my particular situation. In 2018, 2 years ago, I damaged my left medial meniscus doing advanced Qigong exercises down on the beach here, ready for my tour of New Zealand, teaching anti-aging and longevity exercises. And it was really bad. I've never had pain like it. And I've been a snow skier and a water skier all my life, very active, mountain biker as well, tramper, hiker. And it was just so much bad pain. I was limping. I actually eventually lost a third. Well, the specialist I saw, orthopedic surgeon, said you've lost a third of your calf muscle mass because you've been favouring the other leg. And there's serious damage to the CT scan, MRI, said, yep, you need surgery, cost you $3,000. With ACC, you'll be on your back for 6 weeks, you have a permanently weakened knee. And I thought, nah, not interested, don't want to go there. I said, look, let me try these new stem cell enhancer products I've come across and see if they work. He said, well, they won't work. So, sure, come back in 3 months, but you'll need the operation. Went back in 3 months and he said, yeah, it's improved, but you still need the operation. When do you want to schedule it? I said, give me another 3 months. And I cranked up the dose. I was taking 6 a day of these and 6 a day of these. That's 2 with each meal. And 6 months later, he looked at it, he tested it, he said, it's healed, you don't need an operation. He said, by the way, you've gained all your muscle mass back, so you must be using the knee again. I have no pain, no discomfort, nothing at all. And I've maintained 4 a day of both, and I've been doing that for 2 years now. And I've had a whole lot of other benefits as well. But that's the main one. I was really gutted that I was going to be less mobile and basically become an old man and even use a walking stick.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not that the products kind of do this. The product gets your stem cells moving.
Absolutely.
And it's what your stem cells can do. So it's an amazing resource.
And all the other good nutrients I was putting in, vitamin D, vitamin C, vitamin A, your good diet, blah, 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 and doing yoga every day as well.
exactly. And then, like you say, there's other things that you've noticed as well, and that's because you're giving your body resources.
Mood enhancement.
Yep, and
definitely.
then you sit back and kind of go, let's see what your body does with these resources.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Give it enough, take it for long enough, get your head really around what's your stem cells are doing, and also the fact that the older you get, the less of them are migrating, and then you develop an amazing value for these products.
And I would say to the audience, if you really want to try a new approach to your health, commit to 6 months of taking higher dose of these, particularly if you're over 40. If you're over 60, take an even higher dose for maybe longer, because we're in for the long haul here. We're not just saying this is a one-hit fix and away you go. We're saying make this a lifestyle correction to stimulate your stem cells, bring them up to a level when you were much younger, and enjoy the benefits. And the benefits are huge. And there's a website we'll talk about in a minute where you can find a lot more information and watch little video clips on the different products. I want to talk a bit about the skincare products, because they brought those are relatively new to the scene, but they're quite unusual and quite remarkable in what they've got in them too.
They're definitely on their own level of cutting edge science, and of course on some great real natural bases. And I know that's a basis for me, that, you know, even though my favourite product company in the world released them, I still read what was in it before I put it on my skin, because my body, my naturopathy comes first. And I'm like, whoa, you guys, you've got this great. And so the skin products are made in an area of France, and they're based on seaweeds. Algae. And they're all harvested from marine reserve diversity conservatory areas. So that's one part of it when we come into the purity. And I think you and I have both been really taken with the serum. And the serum is based on an isotonic seawater, which is pretty interesting. It's based from research that was being used in World War I. So before we had blood transfusions and things, there was a French scientist who'd actually developed this isotonic water from seawater that can sustain any human cell life, and he'd done a lot of work in dishes and things, and they actually used to inject that plasma water into people's veins to bring their blood volume and everything up. And the French scientist who has developed the serum products found his research and went, well, if it can stabilise cell life in a petri dish in a lab, like, that would be a pretty good thing to be putting onto your skin. And she'd always wanted to bring that product and serum product to the world, and she's done that through Cerule's instant tensor serum, and it also has other compounds to it that give some quite instant changes to the skin.
It was probably one of the most remarkable skin products I've ever used. I mean, as a guy, I'm not as into skincare until I was older and had a lot of sun damage from water skiing, jet skiing, boating, snow skiing, very active lifestyle in my teens, 20s, 30s, 40s. And so I tried this stuff, put it on my skin, and it's a very silky, smooth feel to the skin. Then it tightens the skin up as it dries. And I loved that. And now I use the CC cream. So that first product is called the Instant Tensor Serum. And then the CC cream is a relatively new product, which is good for repairing damage to the skin, which I use regularly too. And then they brought out a cleanser.
And the cleanser is insanely good.
Man, I love the smell of it, actually. I love the feel of it.
Once again, it's natural, and it's also been developed that you can actually leave it on your skin. Like, it's so nourishing and natural. You know, so who invents a cleanser that you actually leave on the skin? So for a lot of us, and I know my teenage daughter, who was still having sort of some hormonal issues and things, she will cleanse with it, and she's really learned, you know, if she's got makeup on, obviously take the makeup off the cleanser, and then actually to cleanse again, and then just to dry that. And the difference that makes in her skin is outstanding. I must convince her not to do it for a bit and photograph it. But it is remarkable. And I've always used natural cleansers, and they're pretty good at getting makeup off. I don't wear a lot of makeup, but at times, you know, you do wear mascara. And I'll often say the thing about the Cerule cleanser, like it just eats the mascara. And I know I have a good friend who has daughters who do a lot of ballet and things, and they're just like this. They've never seen anything kind of like
It's
it.
pretty impressive. I've shown it to a few ladies and they've been quite stunned by how good it is. Now, there's one product we've actually missed out of the 7 that's available currently, and that's the Cyan Active Joint. Talk about that, because arthritis is a big problem in our society, isn't it?
Arthritis is a huge problem. It's actually one of the problems I guess as naturopaths we have things that we're really interested in. And for me, one of my big interests, because I think also that I've always done a lot of body work, structural work, is getting people feeling comfortable and flexible in their bodies. And certainly the best thing I've ever seen to do that is stem cell nutrition. And then to my delight, added the Cyactive, and then the scientists kind of went, what would be the perfect combinations of things to add to Cyactive anti-inflammatory that you would,
blue one here,
that you would be using with a stem cell nutrition product. And then they added eggshell membrane, cherry tart extract, which is an anti-inflammatory. The eggshell membrane, of course, provides collagen and glucosamines and chondroitins, but it's in a whole food basis.
Concentrate,
And then boswellia as another anti-inflammatory. And what's really cool, when I really was first presenting on Cyactive Joint, I actually looked at the ingredients that they'd chosen, and they hadn't just chosen eggshell membrane, they'd chosen the eggshell membrane, the NEM patented version that has all the research and proof. And when you read the clinical studies on that, they say if you're going to use this, you have to use at least this much. So
otherwise you won't get a clinically effective dose.
So I've seen lots of other products out there that might have those things, but they don't have the amount in it, and I think they just hope the whole combination brings it together. But the Cyactive Joint, it's all the right amounts and of the best possible versions of those ingredients. It's awesome.
So we've had some very good results with people who've got problems with their joints. Can you talk a bit about some of those cases?
Well, where do you start? There's just so many. And I know...
just give us one.
Yeah, just one. Using kind of both products or just this one?
Whatever you think
comes to mind.
A standout case.
Well, the standout case comes to mind is actually my stepsister, and that was on stem cell nutrition. And she had a really bad horse accident, she hadn't broken anything, but the rear of the horse had kind of like smashed into her pelvis. And she had done everything I sort of think about, and she works as a horse chiropractor. In order to cope, she was going to work taking horse anti-inflammatories because the human ones weren't working. It's a very strong job. And when I met her, when our parents got married and that, I said, I've got some stuff you should try. And she's like, look, I have tried everything, and the doctors just want to do $10,000 worth of surgery. They say I've got to take 6 months off work. And she was crabby. She was in pain. She hadn't slept well for years. And I'm like, okay. I said, but this is to do with getting your own stem cells moving. And to her benefit, she has that sort of brain that won't just kind of go, no, I've tried everything and just be crabby, but go, actually, nothing I've ever tried's like that. So
it's a new approach.
Try it, And so in her case, after 3 or 4 months, she started seeing a significant change in her discomfort and everything.
Thing, it would take time. And what age group was she in at the time?
Probably 40, early 40s.
Right.
Yep, so it took time, but by 7 months,
so stem cells were already down 50% anyway.
Yes, like she had never been able to recover. So what we see now in a type of person like that is that we give them Cyactive Joint in the beginning.
Yes.
And that sort of lag and changes in flexibility and comfort we can really speed up because we're having that extra anti-inflammatory effect targeted. But I'm always like, whatever you do, don't just take it on your own because you also need your stem cells migrating. When they launched Cyactive Joint, I had just had braces put on my teeth. And I was in a lot of pain. I'd sort of done about 3 corrections over 10 days because I'd worn an orthodontic plate first and they'd pushed my teeth out, and I was due to be presenting in Las Vegas. And I just said to my orthodontist, can I come every few days? He goes, geez, it's going to hurt, Linda. I said, but you've got to rein these teeth in, buddy. And so I was in a lot of pain, hadn't really eaten a lot, a lot of soup for those 10 days. And we got given the samples of this new Cyactive Joint, and I'd sort of forgotten about it. And then a few days later, once everything settled down, I went, geez, I've think I should start taking these. So Active Joint, the clinical studies show that it's 2 capsules twice a day, and it's great. It comes in a 120 capsule bottle, so you have a monthly amount. So I started doing the 2 twice a day, and by the next day I was back to eating normally. And I think that's an example. I'd taken a lot of extra stem cell nutrition to help with the recovery and the trauma, but really getting that function back, man, did I land it on Active Joint. And that was a great experience for me, because then I'm like, wow, this stuff is having the effect that you would intellectually think when you analyse the ingredients, but
to actually experience it yourself.
Yes, but I learned a long time ago not to over intellectualize ingredients. If you feel like you're onto something new and there's a point of difference, you need to get on to using it, seeing what happens with you. You know, if there's practitioners watching this, see what happens within your cases. That's when you learn. It's nothing worse to have made a decision about something and then, you know, a few years later, you know, come back round to it and go, geez, I could have been using this for 3 years.
Exactly. So there you have it, folks. We're talking about a whole new approach to supplementation, stem cell nutrition. This is the flagship product, the Stem Enhance Ultra. So if you want to know more about the products, then go to the link below this page and have a look. There's some great videos you can see. There's a harvest video, 17 minutes long, on the production facility where these products are made, the technology and science that's gone into producing the concentrated extracts that go in the capsules, an interview with the head scientist, Gita Jensen, and a whole lot of other information as well. There's also little 2-minute clips on each of the 7 products, so that's worth looking at. So let's talk a bit about the business opportunity, because that's quite significant, and people can make a lot of residual income over time with this, can't they?
Yes, correct. You can build your own business of referrals for these products, and essentially people can become preferred customers or they can become independent business owners.
Or an IBO.
An IBO. So the great thing is here in Australia and New Zealand, whether you're an IBO or a preferred customer, the price that you pay is actually the same. So there's one price for auto shipment, your regular monthly order, that gets you the best price possible.
So it's a lower price than if you just buy it casually from someone.
And it's correct. So if you're sitting here just thinking, I'd really just want to be a customer and try the products, you'll be paying the same price. And then there is a non-auto ship price, so if you're doing one-off orders, and they're the same whether you're an IBO or preferred customer. The benefit of going into your website through the IBO part of the system is that you can then refer people, and you get your own website, and you can get your own preferred customers, and you can build your own team of independent business owners and create a passive income stream, like you say, from the orders that are being processed every month and overriding support commissions.
And there's more information on that on the link below on the business opportunity. Great, Linda. Thanks very much. Look forward to doing this again. I'll be in touch with you folks out there, and enjoy this whole new area of supplementation, stem cell nutrition. Thanks very much.
Okay, bye-bye.